African Vegan on a Budget, and I'm also known as Chef Cola. So African Vegan on a Budget is a plant-based vegan brand based in Cape Town, South Africa and Harare, Zimbabwe. We started in 2016. The most important thing that appealed to me about veganism is the health benefits, especially for people of color. There's a lot of diseases and disadvantages that we have of people of color that can be solved if we go to plant-based and vegan diets. So when I figured that out, I kind of started delving more into plant-based and vegan food, and I discovered that a lot of people actually didn't like plant-based food because they thought that it didn't taste nice, they thought that it was expensive, and they thought that it was something only for white people. So I established African Vegan on a Budget to basically get rid of those misconceptions. I think with the misconceptions around veganism, the way that we can dismantle those thoughts is by, one, uneducating a lot of people and starting for them to know what veganism is about. I believe that veganism started in Africa, or originated in Africa. Before colonization, a lot of us, our ancestors, never used to eat as much meat as we are eating today. And the reason why we're eating so much meat is because of practices such as colonization that taught us these nasty meat-eating practices. So our ancestors, yes, they used to eat meat, but then they would only slaughter meat on special occasions and ceremonies such as weddings, deaths, celebrations of births, etc. But we never used to collect animals and slaughter them one time because we respected animals. So I'm not saying that our ancestors never touched meat, no, but I'm saying that we did not eat as much meat. And for me personally, I like to present veganism and plant-based anything, lifestyle or anything, to anyone, not just people of color, but everyone. I host monthly dinners called Dinners with Chef Cola, and this is a chance for me to showcase 6-course vegan meals that allow you to see that veganism, is tasty with nutritional value, it's affordable, and it's a chance for us to have conversations and get rid of these misconceptions that a lot of people think about veganism. In African households, meat is something that's cherished and loved, but then it doesn't mean that it's there. A lot of people can't afford meat, especially, I'm speaking about where, as Africans, if you're going to a lot of households, even these upmarket houses, and you think that people are eating these luxury meat platters, seafood platters every day, that stuff is not happening. Meat is an expensive luxury, and a lot of people are now beginning to skip meals that actually don't include meat. In places like rural Zimbabwe, people love meat, of course, but then they can't afford meat. So they use this product called soy chunks, and they call it nyama, meat. In their heads, mentally, they're eating meat, but then they're actually not eating meat. They're eating soy chunks, and they're actually on plant-based diets. I would say they're vegan, but then they incorporate things like milk and eggs, so that therefore they're plant-based diets. So this whole thing about meat equals wealth, as much as we love to say that it still exists, it actually doesn't. We can't afford meat anymore, and the meat that's there in the supermarkets is actually probably kind of making us sick. How can African families embrace the plant-based diets? I think by them understanding that this is actually healthier for them. For example, in terms of people of color, if we were to get a disease like a skin disease, it's going to take us longer for us to actually realize that we have the skin disease because of our pigmentation. A white person can figure out that there's something wrong with my skin, or there's something wrong with my body immediately, because the telltale signs are more visible. And they are more aware that if I have, let's say, a kidney problem, the skin will probably tell her or him immediately. And then she's more aware that she has to change her diet. Even though she loves meat, she knows that I'm going to have to change my diet if I want to take my health seriously. My intention for African Vegan on a Budget, as the name says, is to present plant-based and vegan foods on, well, not to sound contradictory, but on a budget, but then also in a nice way, something that's classy and something that you would find in an upmarket restaurant or in a shebeen. So that's my intention. So it's to spread the word of veganism and make it more accessible to everyone. One of the things that I've learned since starting the brand African Vegan on a Budget is that if you're a black person and you're into plant-based diets or veganism, then it's political. That's one thing that I also saw, like, there's politics in it, and it's weird. So it's a learning curve for me, being somewhat of a pioneer, especially in Zimbabwe, to the plant-based and vegan community. I have to learn how to navigate through certain channels in a way that's respectable, but also show people that we're not doing this for money. We're not doing this for anything else, but besides bettering our little space and doing the most in the little time that we have on this planet Earth. So one of the things that I do with African Vegan on a Budget is that we have a bunch of clients, and they range from private clients. I used to work with a cancer patient who decided to go on a plant-based vegan diet, and she actually went on remission, which was amazing. And not just working with patients like that, we host our own private functions, our own dinners, lunches, breakfasts, whatever you want to call it. We have a line of beautiful chef jackets that you can see behind me. And I work with an organization called the International Anti-Poaching Foundation, which is the world's first and only armed female vegan rangers. And I am the executive chef of that anti-poaching unit. We manage a kitchen of we have 8 kitchens, and we channel out meals to everyone who's on camp. So not just the rangers, the managers will be the guests, and even guests who come onto the campsite. So under the International Anti-Poaching Foundation, I am the Kitchen and Gardens Project Manager, Executive Chef. And one of the things that I love about that job is that it gives me an opportunity to develop gardens in rural places that are not meant to have such beautiful gardens, and it allows me to teach children. So for example, I go into the community, I find a school, I speak to the principal, the headmaster. We develop programs that have to do with the garden, and with the garden we teach the children how to grow vegetables and what are the nutritional benefits of these vegetables and how you can dry them or cook them immediately. And because of that, these children are now coming up with skills that they're going to use for the rest of their lives. So community development and helping people understand why veganism and plant-based lifestyles are so important is something that's important to me. Some of the major benefits of adopting a plant-based vegan lifestyle is that you see immediate effects. For example, the plant-based vegan diet is the only diet in the world that can reverse a chronic disease, and that's the heart disease. And to show such results, that means you can see the powerfulness, the impact that this diet, this lifestyle has on you as an individual. So the benefits of going plant-based is that you immediately become more healthier. It's like someone who starts drinking water daily. You see the benefits, the toxins are coming out. Even if you're a meat eater, you can have one meal a day that doesn't have meat in it. So black people don't want to understand this lifestyle. Not all black people, because there's a huge space taken over of black people who are on vegan and plant-based diets. So it's just a small gap of people who need to change their mindset, and I think them understanding that our ancestors didn't eat as much meat, and understanding their history about their colonization and the diets. Colonization just doesn't equate to slavery or whatever. We also need to look into things like diets. Like if you if you go back to the times of slavery, when people used to slaughter things like chickens and cows, they gave us the offal, which was the worst part of the animal, the part that the white people didn't want. And us as black people, we learned how to turn that into delicate, tasty dishes that now, in this day and age, white people are now saying that, oh my God, look at this, look at that, gizzards and all of that. But then this is something that we've been eating since Kingdom Come. And it's just about educating ourselves and respecting our past, and most importantly, understanding that if we're not going to have a future if we don't incorporate plant-based vegan diets some way, somehow. I think when you are like the only vegan in your household, the most important thing is to speak to the person who has the buying power of that house. If circumstances equates that it's not you, and maybe it's your sister or your brother or your mother, father who decide what's eaten and what's brought it to what extent, then you need to sit down and have open-minded conversations with those people. And unfortunately, sometimes people just don't care and say, "What? How does your diet affect me?" If you're a person who is privileged enough to have their own source of income, get on your own diet and cook your own food, and speak to the family as a unit and explain that this is no disrespect to you guys, but then this is a lifestyle that I've decided to live, and because this is the journey, the path that I've decided to take, it's going to be hard for me, but I'm going to be cooking my own food. And I know that it's going to be double the trouble for me because I have to go around your schedule, the family schedule, the things that are already established, so that you don't disturb people. If you have a child or a family member who's a child and doesn't have the privilege to make such decisions, then it's 2020. You need to be supportive, because if you don't support that person, they're going to find support elsewhere. Does it kill you to make a dish that's on the side for one person? It doesn't take anything out of you, or not to add meat or some meat form of gravy. It doesn't kill you. So I think we all need to just come together when it comes to this whole vegan thing. I like to make vegan dishes, plant-based dishes, more interesting by making them more creative. I like to come up with signature dishes that I think that people who eat meat on the regular would enjoy. So for example, I have a dish that I reinvented called the Beef Wellington. It's a remix on the beef Wellington, which is a very popular non-vegan dish, and I like to add flavor to it. And I noticed that when you kind of like remix the non-vegan dish and turn it vegan, people find it more welcoming and they're more receiving. So I like to make signature dishes that I know that this is going to be creative and something that's different. Besides the beef Wellington, I have something called my Nicola's Sada Nuggets. So it's basically a remix, a take on a traditional meal that we have here in Africa, where we have sada or pap, we have relish, collard greens, and they usually have meat and soup. So I removed the meat and I just took the collard greens, relish, the sada, and gravy, and I deep fried them and called them sada nuggets. And this is something that's different, but something that we have on a regular, on a daily. So I like to be creative with things that are accessible, that we can find and people can identify with. So if I'm in South Africa, I use South African ingredients. If I'm in Zimbabwe, I do the same. Or anywhere I go, I incorporate every culture. So yeah, some of the simplest ways to incorporate veganism on a tight budget is social media. Literally, you can get apps like Pinterest, Google's your friend, and simple things like how to make a banana cake using 3 ingredients, and those ingredients will be flour, bananas, and something else. So social media is your friend if you're on a budget. So just do your research, because if you can't afford to go to expensive restaurants or attend expensive functions or go to a supermarket and buy these products, make them yourselves, grow it yourselves. Develop your own little garden, even if you don't have space. Like, you can develop your own little garden. There's certain vegetables that grow well in the kitchen. They don't need to be outside. Also herbs. So you have to be someone who's innovative and creative if you want to be someone who's a part of the vegan plant-based lifestyle, especially on the budget. Being on a budget will make you the most creative person ever as a student. I think the most important thing about maintaining a vegan lifestyle the right way is education. If you look at a simple example, the food pyramid, there's certain foods and diets and products that you have to eat within a certain amount and a certain quantity within blah blah blah. That's the thing. So when you remove meat from your food pyramid, you need to balance that. So veganism is not just eating legumes and saying, yeah, I'm getting my protein. It's not just that. You need to educate yourself about eating right, getting the right balance and intake, because you will get sick if you get into veganism and plant-based diets or do it the wrong way. You will get sick, and your body can go into shock. I've heard stories of someone who just stopped eating meat to try it out for like a few weeks and then started eating meat again, and then the body went into shock and they just get sick. So it's all about understanding and education. Like, social media is your friend. You got vegan plant-based groups on social media, WhatsApp chat groups, and you can ask people their opinions, but at the same time, don't get overwhelmed by all of the opinions and the suggestions that are out there. I would highly recommend go see a nutritionist, go see a doctor, and then go see a professional who can advise you. Speak to a chef who can advise you on the right steps and what to do when it comes to transitioning or being vegan and plant-based. Africans should start making a shift back to veganism because we're going back to our roots. This is something that's not new to us, and I'm not just speaking about African cultures, even Indian cultures, Chinese cultures, there's Russian cultures, whatever culture you come from. We never used to eat as much meat as we do in this day and age. And it's through practices like colonization. Whoever colonized you in China or Brazil or whatever, why is it that there's so many things that we were taught on how to think, like, no, this is how you should, this is the color of black, then that's black. But then my ancestors used to call it a different name. No, what your ancestors called it is different. That's not the way you should do it. And why is that? Why should you suppress my people's language and yours is more powerful? And these are things that we need to start questioning and start trying to figure out, like, where is our history written? Because we're damn sure not going to find it within our colonial history. That's not our history. So we need to start figuring out where is our history written. And one of the most important ways that you can figure that out is speaking to your elders. The closest thing to your ancestors. Speak to your elders. So yeah, Africans should definitely start making a shift towards veganism because, one, we can't afford the pills that that they have in the pharmacies and the hospitals or whatever. We can't afford them. So why not go on plant-based diets, grow your own foods, discover how your ancestors used to do it before there was a thing called a blue pill or magic pill or whatever. All of these things, all of these pills, these pharmaceutical things that we find in the hospitals and whatnot, these are things that they got taught by our ancestors. Like, literally, the remedies and the concussions and everything, they got them from us, and then they just renamed them and remixed it. So why not go back to our own source of power and understand it? Just saying. When veganism started becoming a huge thing, especially in Cape Town, South Africa, a lot of people thought that it was a fad, it was a trend, but then now it's sort of like a lifestyle. And I definitely think it's going to reach a point where even now you go to events and there'll be prominent brands and it'll just be a plant-based menu, or the theme will be plant-based. I think it was the Golden Globes or the Oscars or something that did plant-based only. And it's not, we can't say that I'm forcing you to go plant-based. Are you gonna refuse to attend the Oscars if you're a nominee because the menu is plant-based? No. But in a way, we're forcing you to kind of like look this way and kind of figure it out. Like, plant-based is the now, is the future. It affects everything. It affects the environment. It affects our climate. It affects our health. It affects everything just by our simple diets. And we need to, I just need to say that not every single white person is bad or colonized us. A lot of people will be like, no, I can't pay for my ancestors' sins. Like, we'll never apologize for taking the land. Quotes like that. We need to come together, because whether we like it or not, you might look black, but you're not 100% black. You might look white, but you're not 100% white. It's just about educating yourself and understanding who we are as a people. Remove color, just as a people, and how are we going to survive. Veganism has transformed my life because it's a way from, I now know how to live healthier and longer for a long time. Me not incorporating meat in my diet has benefited me greatly, and also my family. It's a beautiful transformation, and it's a journey that I wish that everyone will partake in, even if it's just one meal a day. Just try it. My favorite traditional plant-based recipe is collard greens and peanut butter. That's like, I love it. I can eat a bowl of that by itself or with anything else, but then collard greens and peanut butter, that's my shit. So that's my favorite traditional recipe, and it happens to be one of Zimbabwean's like traditional recipes. Thank you so much for watching my interview. In 2021, I am coming up with the African-inspired plant-based vegan cookbook. It's going to be for Africans, but for everyone. It's going to be a little present to the world. Look out on my social media for more information. Follow me at African Vegan on a Budget. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Away.